program.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Times of India in its editorial title, Fight for Freedom, says, in a significant victory for protesters in Hong Kong, its chief executive Carrie Lam finally announced for the formal withdrawal of the controversial extradition bill that made millions hit the streets since June. The bill would have allowed Hong Kong to extradite fugitives to mainland China, undermining the city's special status under the one country, two systems mechanism. After relentless demonstrations by young Hong Kongers, the city administration agreed to their main demand. However, protesters want their other demands, including an independent inquiry into police brutality and direct democratic elections, to be fulfilled as well. At the heart of the Hong Kong unrest lies a clash of ideas. Hong Kongers still adhere to democratic, liberal values they inherited from the British. When Hong Kong was handed over to China in 1997, it was far more prosperous than any other region of China and accrued several economic advantages to Beijing. However, China's meteoric growth over the last 2 decades has meant that those advantages have decreased over time, although they still exist, and Hong Kong is no longer seen as special by Beijing. The latter has since proceeded to slowly erode Hong Kong's separate political mechanism. The protests today are a pushback against those designs. The Indian Express, in its editorial title, Restoring the Bond, says there were no dramatic agreements that came out from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's annual summit with the Russian President Vladimir Putin this week on the margins of the annual Eastern Economic Forum at Vladivostok. The two sides agreed to intensify energy cooperation in various sectors and develop transport connectivity between Chennai and Vladivostok. They also addressed the long-standing problem of spare parts supply for the large inventory of Russian weapons with the Indian Armed Forces. Delhi and Moscow will now set up production facilities for spares in India. All this is welcome incremental progress. But to understand the importance of the 20th meeting in 6 years between the two leaders, look elsewhere. The unfolding turbulence in India's major power relations has been brought into sharp relief by the international response to New Delhi's decision to change the constitutional status of Jammu and Kashmir. India's relations with China, already under considerable strain, have gotten worse amid Beijing's harsh response and its decision to move the United Nations Security Council in support of Pakistan. While the Western powers have extended support for India's argument that the developments in Kashmir are internal to India, they have also raised questions about the human rights situations there. Russia's support seemed to come with fewer caveats, and Modi has thanked his great friend Putin for that in Vladivostok. Even more importantly, the joint statement issued by the two leaders emphasized the shared understanding on the inadmissibility of intervention in the internal affairs of nations. Financial Express, in its editorial title, Sectoral Solutions are the key to reviving GDP growth, writes, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has done well to talk of the government responding to sectoral problems as and when they are brought to the government's attention. Indeed, in her first press conference to announce changes in tax rates on FPIs, etc., she had indicated that the next set of measures would be in real estate. There are, of course, macro solutions that need to be taken, such as ensuring India's tax rates are on par with those in competing countries like China and Vietnam, getting labor policy right, giving environment clearances quickly, and so on. Beyond that, however, everything is sectoral, and the impact of policy changes will be both quicker and possibly even sharper. The Statesman, in its editorial title, Konark Unshackled, says, Konark Temple in Odisha is poised to recover its pristine glory with the decision of the Archaeological Survey of India to remove the thoroughly unsightly, if not repulsive, iron scaffoldings around the 13th century shrine. Also referred to as the Sun Temple, it is one of the country's primary tourist attractions. The scaffoldings had denuded its marvelous beauty since 1992, when work on the cordon sanitaire, so to speak, was initiated, eventually to cover the entire structure by 2011. Clearly, it has taken close to 3 decades to complete the process of repair and reconstruction, in itself a commentary on the extent of fragility rooted in natural decay. Tuesday's decision follows an inspection by the ESI on the basis of the recommendations of the Central Buildings Research Institute. Given the partially decrepit condition of most monuments under the ESI's care, it is fervently to be hoped that an alternative plan of action to protest the stones and exquisite carvings will soon be formulated. In a sense, the ESI has responded to a long-standing demand of the Odisha government to remove the scaffoldings, which, given the sluggish progress of reconstruction, were in a state of present continuous. Chiefly, it obstructed a close look at and appreciation of the temple's artwork. It has intrinsically been an object of beauty and joy to uphold, its striking feature being the absence of a sanctum sanctorum and religious connotation. Going by legend, the British had between 1900 and 1903 filled up the Sun Temple with sand to prevent the monument from collapsing. Those were the comments from the press, presented to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.
This broadcast came to you from the Delhi